welcome to Tales of Honor Podcast, a podcast dedicated to telling the true stories of every recipient of the Medal of Honor. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Honor Podcast. I'm your host, Christoph Ambrosch, and today's episode is episode number 279. I'm feeling much better compared to the last episode. However, my voice is still a little affected by the whatever sickness I got down with this week. Not sure what it was or what it is or whatever, but I feel much better. Just have to deal with the sound quality of my voice while I still have it. This is your first time hearing this podcast, know that this is not a representation of what it usually is, and you should also go back and listen to the entire catalog and subscribe wherever it is you're listening, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Overcast, YouTube, Facebook, wherever. This way, you're sure to get new episodes every time they come out every Wednesday and Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And now, a tale of honor. Raymond was born in Fitzgerald, Georgia on the 13th of January, 1915. When he graduated from Atlanta Technical High School in 1933, he went on to attend the Georgia Institute of Technology. Raymond graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical Engineering in 1938, and since he was a member of their Reserve Officer Training Corps, he was also commissioned upon graduation. He resigned his commission on the 27th of June, 1938, in order to accept an appointment as a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps. Shortly after joining, Raymond attended and completed the Marine Officers Basic School at the Philadelphia Navy Yard in May of 1939, and was then assigned to the USS Portland, which was stationed in the Pacific for a year. Shortly after being promoted to first lieutenant, he was the battery executive officer with the 1st Anti-Aircraft Machine Gun Battery, 1st Marine Division, and they were moved to the Marine Corps Barracks in North Carolina. The following year, Raymond was promoted to captain in February of 1942, and then became the battery commander. Raymond was deployed to the Pacific during World War II and spent most of his time in Guadalcanal. He also served in the Eastern New Guinea, Cape Gloucester, and Peleliu campaigns. His actions as a major in command of the 1st Battalion, 1st Marines at Peleliu earned him the Navy Cross. Raymond was promoted to lieutenant colonel in October of 1944, and when he returned to the States in November of 1944, he became a tactical inspector at the Marine Corps schools in Quantico. After the war, he returned to the Pacific, but this time as the 1st Provisional Marine Brigade's Assistant Chief of Staff until August of 1948. He was instructor-inspector of the 9th Marine Corps Reserve Infantry Battalion in Chicago when he deployed to Korea in August of 1950. It was Raymond's actions during the Battle of Chosin Reservoir that would earn him the Medal of Honor. The citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, as commanding officer of the 1st Battalion in action against enemy aggressor forces. Although keenly aware that the operation involved breaking through a surrounding enemy and advancing 8 miles along primitive icy trails in the bitter cold with every passage disputed by a savage and determined foe, Lieutenant Colonel Davis boldly led his battalion into the attack in a daring attempt to relieve a beleaguered rifle company and to seize, hold, and defend a vital mountain pass controlling the only route available for 2 Marine regiments in danger of being cut off by numerically superior hostile forces during their redeployment to the port of Hungnam. When the battalion immediately encountered strong opposition from entrenched enemy forces commanding high ground in the path of the advance, he promptly spearheaded his unit in a fierce attack up the steep, ice-covered slopes in the face of withering fire and, personally leading the assault groups in a hand-to-hand encounter, drove the hostile troops from their positions, rested his men, and reconnoitered the area under enemy fire to determine the best route for continuing the mission. Always in the thick of the fighting, Lieutenant Colonel Davis led his battalion over 3 successful ridges in the deep snow in continuous attacks against the enemy and, constantly inspiring and encouraging his men throughout the night, brought his unit to a point within 1,500 yards of the surrounded rifle company by daybreak. Although knocked to the ground when a shell fragment struck his helmet and 2 bullets pierced his clothing, he arose and fought his way forward at the head of his men until he reached the isolated Marines. On the following morning, he bravely led his battalion in securing the vital mountain pass from a strongly entrenched and numerically superior hostile force, carrying all of his wounded with him, including 22 litter cases and numerous ambulatory patients. Despite repeated savage and heavy assaults by the enemy, he stubbornly held the vital terrain until the 2 regiments of the division had deployed through the pass and, on the morning of 4 December, led his battalion into Hagaruri intact. By his superb leadership, outstanding courage, and brilliant tactical ability, Lieutenant Colonel Davis was directly instrumental in saving the beleaguered rifle company from complete annihilation and enabled the 2 Marine regiments to escape possible destruction. His valiant devotion to duty and unyielding fighting spirit in the face of almost insurmountable odds enhance and sustain the highest traditions of the U.S. Naval Service. Raymond's time in Korea also earned him 2 Silver Stars, the Legion of Merit with V device, and a Bronze Star. He received the Medal of Honor from President Truman in a ceremony at the White House on the 24th of November, 1952. For the next 7 years, Raymond held varying office jobs in Virginia and Washington, D.C., and was also promoted to colonel. He completed the National War College in June of 1960 and was then assigned to the U.S. European Command in Paris, France, until July of 1963. While on his way back to the States, he was promoted to Brigadier General, and he went on to serve as an Assistant Division Commander of the 3rd Marine Division, Fleet Marine Force in Okinawa. By the time the Vietnam War had begun, Raymond was a Major General and was deployed as the Deputy Commanding General of the Provisional Corps in South Vietnam before becoming the Commanding General of the 3rd Marine Division. His actions while in command earned him the Navy Distinguished Service Medal and 3 Republic of Vietnam Gallantry Crosses from the South Vietnam government. Back in the States, Raymond's career would see no more war fighting and would be promoted to Lieutenant General on the 1st of July, 1970, and then General on the 12th of March, 1971. His last assignment was as Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps, and he retired from the Marine Corps on the 31st of March, 1972, after 33 years of service. In retirement, Raymond became an executive with the Georgia Chamber of Commerce. He served as the chairman of an advisory board to the Korean War Veterans Memorial. In September of 2002, Raymond was part of a small group organized by the Defense Department that was allowed by North Korea to visit the western side of the Chosin Reservoir. This was the first time Americans had been allowed to visit the mountainous area that they had fought in almost half a century earlier. On the 3rd of September, 2003, Raymond Gilbert Davis died from a heart attack at the age of 88. His funeral detail and honor guard were personally commanded by the Commandant of the Marine Corps at the time, General Hagee. He is buried in the Forest Lawn Memorial Gardens in College Park, Georgia, and his wife, Willa, joined him 7 years later. And that was a tale of honor. Thank you for listening to Tales of Honor Podcast. Head on over to talesofhonorpodcast.com where you can read these stories, see other ways to support the show, and easily share a story with your friends and family. Tales of Honor Podcast is written and produced by Christoph Ambrosch, and theme song, A New Beginning, is by Ben Sound. If you have any questions or comments, you can send them to talesofhonorpodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Christoph Ambrosch. Thanks for listening.